Hello, everybody, and welcome to Shift+F1, a podcast about speedy race cars. I am Drew Scanlon. Joining me is Danny O'Dwyer. How are you, Danny?
I'm doing all right. I'm happy to be here chatting to you. I must warn you, I've just emerged from bed after 3 days of fever. But now I've got Formula One fever for both 2025 and 2026. But if I start rambling like an incoherent nincompoop more than usual, then it's probably because of the sickness. So apologies.
Great. I can't wait. Also joining us, Rob Zachney. How are you, Rob?
Suddenly sleepy.
This could be a great episode.
So I was up late last night covering the Game Awards.
Yes.
With Remap, and that was unfortunate because that day that morning had been recycling and garbage pickup.
Oh,
so I was 6:30 in the morning. You're digging deep. You're like, if I miss this, that garbage is gonna be rotting in my garage the entire next week. And so you just drag your ass out there into the cold winter morning when you never do that. And then you have to stay up way past your bedtime watching a lot of video games trailers. So I am a shattered husk of a man.
Wow. Speaking of recycled garbage, how was the Game Awards?
boom!
It was the usual. Actually, I think there've been worse shows. It was okay, a little overlong as always. But hey, look, learned about the new Control game we're getting, and so that's
cool.
a big win in my book. Oh, and hey, relevant to us. What is it? It's not Pod Racer 2, but it's Star Wars Racing.
Really?
Yeah, dude. And you know who fucking showed up?
Anakin
Sebulba.
Skywalker.
No, his rival Sebulba.
What?
From episode 1. Remember the dude who's like the awesome race driver, and Anakin used the Force and cheats, and denies pod racing's Fernando Alonso his rightful victory. Star Wars Galactic Racer is what the game is called. They're making one of those.
Hell yeah.
Sweet.
Nice one. Yeah, I say it in jest. I did not see any of the Game Awards stuff at all.
Here's the thing. I hope whoever makes it realizes that, like, George Lucas sourced a bunch of the pod racer sound effects from pod racing scene sound effects from F1. Like those are
right.
Look, if I don't hear V12s in Pod Racer, then you fucked up. In Galactic Racer, then you fucked up.
If you're new to this podcast, a very warm welcome to you. This is an interesting time to join. This is our 2025 season wrap up. We're just going to be like rapping about the season, how we feel about it, how we think all the drivers did, what happened, what we remember fondly of the season, and a sort of a look forward to of what's kind of coming up in 2026. We will, of course, come the new season, have our preseason primer episode that'll kind of run down exactly what to expect, such as we can tell.
Yeah.
That'll be a few months from now. But if for some reason you have just joined us for the first time and want to dive into this whole F1 thing, we did a preseason primer for 2025 that you can go back and listen to. That'll get you completely up to speed on how the sport works and who everybody is. That is episode 298 if you'd like to go back and listen to that. Also, this show would not be possible without our audience. Over at patreon.com/shiftf1. Boy, it's coming from me too, Danny. Where every month we release ad-free versions of the podcast early, along with bonus podcasts and videos exclusively for our patrons that cover racing documentaries and films, F1 video games, experiments with other racing series, and a lot of weird things. So if you would like to support the show and get access to all that fun stuff, head over to patreon.com/shiftf1 or click the link in the show notes. What is going on in Patreon land this month, Danny?
What's the name of this absolutely terrible journey back to Christmas?
I think it's...
We don't know.
We don't know. We just don't know. We don't want to say it because then people might feel compelled to watch it as well. And this is us jumping on the sword. I think.
If not an actual Hallmark movie, then definitely in that vein. Is what we've decided to subject ourselves and any patrons who want to come with us on this journey to. Yes, Journey
Very
Back
exciting.
to Christmas.
Journey
I believe
Back to
it is
Christmas.
on Tubi,
Tubi.
where all the best content is.
The movie sounds fake, and Tubi, I know Tubi exists. I've known Tubi for years. Tubi still sounds fake. Tubi sounds like a made-up streaming platform in a video game or a movie. Or
From
TV
what I
show.
understand, Tubi is like, oh, you don't want. Oh, the big streamers don't want all these like VHS tapes I have in my garage.
Yes.
Those movies. I'll just upload those and people can watch those.
Yes, we need somewhere for people to stream Nightmare at Noon and all the like Ninja Squad and all the classic anything you've seen on Mystery Science Theater basically will have, it'll be right there. Jet Jaguar, all the classics will be there.
Right.
All the stars are here.
Zach in Savage, Minnesota suggested this to us, so we'll know soon whether we should be thanking Zach or not.
I bet we know already. But you know who we should be thanking? All of our incredible title sponsors, who I'm going to read in reverse order today, just for
what?
Just because I'm that crazy.
Wow.
When I'm an Irish Danny, when he's been at a funeral and gotten sick, he's just full of it. He's full of that leprechaun sass. So that's what I'm going to do. So here we go, folks. See, I told you I was fucking punchy today.
Yeah. Right.
Jason Kelly, Samurai Love Story, Lachlan the Maddened Man, William Rumpf, Troy Stammer, Jeff Foster, Max Voltar Keyboards, Alex Goucher, HireThisWalker.com, Snigs, Bunny Jerk, Abraham Getchell, High Speed Low Drag, Bailey Foot, Helmut Marco's Driving Insurance, Drew Stewart, Tracy Syntax, FTC, Telemetry Deck Racing Team, Cigarettes, Xenomorph and Son Sprinkler Solutions, Michael Maves, Cyphus Training, Turf SES, Agave ATX, Get Rich O'Die Ryan, Mojo Nixon, Petro States, It's a Me Ferrario, Deange, Man and Harmony, Papaya Rules, Don't Hire This Horner.com, Dr. V, I Ching Wells, and of course, Let's Margot Racing. Thank you all so much for slapping your beautiful logos all over our livery. We can't wait to show you next year's livery, which we're designing just around incorporating even more of your beautiful names.
That's right. Still in development.
Max Aero.
Under wraps. Yeah. All right. Well, Danny.
Yeah.
You clued me into this. F1 has released a 45-minute video on their YouTube channel that sort of recounts the championship battle, such as it was. And it was quite, came down to the wire. And you've taken a look at that and kind of compiled a look back at the 25 season. I feel like we should just go through that and remember the season that was and shout out any moments that we remember and kind of just look back holistically at 25.
Yeah, it's a really interesting video because I think, so the video it's like you said, it's 45 minutes long. It basically breaks down sort of it's pretty detailed. It goes into like pretty much every race in the season, and we won't necessarily do that here. But what it did for me at least is sort of reframe the season. Because at the time, I don't know about you, at the time, it felt like there were these different sort of epochs of the season where it seemed like one driver was going to run away with it and then they slipped up, and then another driver was coming in and then they slipped up and then they came back. And whereas when you go back, and especially with how close the whole thing ended in that any one of the top three mathematically could have done it on the final race, it shows you just how like back and forth the whole thing was, race by race by race, especially if you include Verstappen, because I think we weren't including Verstappen for like a decent chunk of this season, like the sort of second third of the season, or maybe the second quarter, maybe he felt like he had sort of disappeared into the background, but there was sort of in every race, there was someone losing, someone winning between the three of them. And just when you get down to the end and they're all within a race win of each other, it's crazy. Because I remember, I think Rob was talking last week or earlier this week when we recorded about, people saying, oh, was it because of this moment? Or, oh, was it because of that moment that they slipped up? All three of these drivers had like 6 moments where they could have easily dropped or gained points, like just unlucky stuff or a bad decision or a bad pit stop or whatever it was. So I found it really cool to go back and watch it. Just off of your own heads, like what do you remember about the early season? Who do you remember about being the one that was sort of pushing out at the start? Because Verstappen was sort of like in the mix, picking up points for a good while there, before he started winning stuff outright, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I don't remember exactly when Verstappen kind of came into the picture. My memory is that like McLaren started out of the gate having won the Constructors' Championship last year, right?
Yeah.
So we were like, well, they're still, clearly going to be dominant this year, and then that looked to be the case, especially with Piastri, which I think that was a surprise. The fact that Piastri was so strong and that Norris had kind of faded to the background. And that in my head is like the first half of the season.
Yeah, the race that I totally forgotten about was the opening one, Australia, where they had that crazy rain and both of the McLaren spun out. Lando did coming into the pits, and Piastri ended up like going out in the grass and almost beaching it. Do you remember that? Yeah. Uh-huh. And that one ended with Norris winning and Verstappen coming in second. But Piastri could have had a home race victory had he not sort of spun out that early. He ended up winning China the next race, and then I think it was Japan was the next one where Max got his win in, I'm going to say it, the nicest livery of the year. Do you remember the Honda Red Bull they had?
Oh,
it was like a white and black and red. Yeah. That was super slick. And by that stage, he was only a point behind Lando. Lando's winning the championship. Max is just 1 point behind him.
This is also going to reveal just how fleeting the races stick in my head. They really just kind of go in, stick around long enough for the podcast, and then they are gone.
Well, it's 24 of them as well. It's like
that's part of it. Yeah. With the exception of like, that part of that race, right? That's why I have to make that spreadsheet of like, was this race exciting? Because I cannot remember.
Yeah, like I'd forgotten as well about Saudi Arabia where Norris crashed in Q3, which basically handed Piastri the pole, the win, and then also had him jump him in the championship. So it was only at Saudi Arabia, which I think was the fifth race of the season where Piastri managed to get ahead for the first time. But then he wins Monaco a couple of races later. Norris.
Oh, right.
That was his big, and it's funny because like there's all these. We're so used to seeing Norris now with race wins, and to think that it was only last year he won his first one. Do you remember the big moment about it when we're all like they're all showing footage of Russia back in 2021 or whatever it was?
That's right. Yeah.
And
so quickly do we forget, and our perceptions change. You're right. Like, and it was the narrative around Norris for so long was like he always chokes. He can't do starts. Yeah. He can't overtake. It's just it's so funny.
The narrative. That was him.
Yeah, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that is the crucial thing, is that Lando Norris was poised to have the deficiencies that were always seen in him as a driver cost him what was a golden chance at a championship. Like, it was clear coming into the season that this was a dominant McLaren. Now, I think with the benefit of hindsight, again, the word is like McLaren also saw their own dominance and began to think more and more about 2026 and really decided to maybe not sweat midseason and late season upgrade packages as much as they otherwise would have. But they really did have this thing in their hands, but Lando's unevenness in qualifying and then in races, it juxtaposed very poorly with Piastri's like very steady hand. Like, yes, Piastri does have what turns out to be a very impactful on the championship race spin out in Australia in that first race. That is true. Like, who knew? But at that point, everyone's literally just figuring out what the season's going to be. But outside of that, the first act of the season really is the story of this is McLaren's year, and Piastri is driving to target, and Norris is high variance in there. And to the point where it blurred to me. I remember Jacques Villeneuve talking about this, that he was like, well, this really should be squarely in Lando's hands. He was speaking at a time when Piastri was up significantly in the championship, and Villeneuve said, like, Lando is faster, but Piastri is winning. and it wasn't clear to me, like, because I wasn't paying that close attention to like what their fast lap potential, what their race pace was, but to me it always felt like I couldn't really pick between the drivers. It was just that Piastri was a steadier hand. And then in that early part of the season, you have in a compromised car, like, I think George Russell and Max Verstappen were both really standouts there because it was so clear their cars were not particularly competitive. But every time McLaren's, and usually Lando, toward the opening of the season, every time they had a miscue, those two guys tended to pick up a lot of points. And so like that was probably the story of the opening stage of the season. I guess the other thing we'd say is, from the first really starting with James Vowell's catwalk strut during the livery reveal, like this was a new era for Williams, and they were Albon in particular was having a really good season, driving far up into the points. Sainz was having a much less successful tour.
I would say he at times looked like he was floundering.
Yeah. Bit of Hamilton at Ferrari with Sainz at Williams. Felt.
Well, yeah. But yes. with a distinction in that Sainz completely turned it around.
Yeah, exactly. And in so doing cursed Albon somehow.
Right. There could be only one.
Exactly, yeah. Rob is totally right. There was so many of these moments where big chunks of points swung away from Norris. And it's funny, like, Villeneuve's not wrong, but also Villeneuve comes from an era where there were 14, 15, 12 races. Yeah. And if this wasn't a 24 lap race year, maybe those would have hurt more. Just with the longer season, the more opportunities for the sort of the sine wave to settle down, as it were, for the sort of a bit of normalcy to come in and fill in those gaps from the bad races. Like it used to be, if you crashed out of a couple of races, that was your championship done and dusted. Obviously, the points were also different, but and we also had sprint races thrown in here as well for bonus ones. But yeah, the first big one of those was Canada, which is when they were having a fantastic battle around the second end of the second sector, third sector, and then they somehow managed to completely emulate the Hamilton and Button crash from McLaren days of yore on the start-finish straight, when Norris for some reason attempted to overtake Piastri up the inside of the start-finish straight. And completely banjaxed his car and crashed out. Immediately took responsibility for it, which was honourable of him. Piastri survived it and won the race, but then by that stage, Piastri was 22 points ahead of him. So there was a pretty significant gap by that stage. They had a great fight in Austria again. This was the one where we saw a couple of these Oscar late lunges where he really ends up locking the front tires and almost careering it. Like there was like 2 or 3 occasions this year where he almost wiped out Lando and didn't quite. And then the engineers were like telling him, it's a bit marginal. We're not racing that way.
I do feel like this was the first time. I mean, he's newer to the sport than Norris is, but that I really got to see Piastri, his racecraft, right? Like what he can do, and he's not just like following another car. He's doing overtakes. He's managing his tires. He's that kind of thing. And at least for this middle, beginning to middle section of the season, he looked like, I think we said at the time, reminded us of Kimi Räikkönen, just like really steady, stoic, unflappable, a machine. And that changed a little bit.
I think Lando said not years ago, I think it was earlier this year, that he said he'd trade in all of his race wins for a win at home. And he didn't need to, as it turned out. This was the year that he won at Silverstone. But, not to take the shine off of it, I think everyone was mostly excited for the driver who came in third, who up until that point had the longest... held the award for the most amount of races. I think it was 280 something without getting a podium. One guy that we thought we'd never see again on the racetrack or in a Microsoft store. Good old Nico Hülkenberg.
Eat that, kid.
There's a great video on the F1 YouTube as well, which breaks down that whole race with like team radio and back and forth. It's like a good 30-minute highlight thing.
Hülkenberg's perspective?
Yeah, but it's kind of doing Lando and Hülkenberg, but I'd say it's 60% Hülkenberg and then the rest of it Lando.
That's a separate video?
Yes, that's a separate
we'll
video.
Put that
yeah,
in the show notes too.
But the interesting one to remember about that one is that Piastri had overtaken Verstappen in the wet, which like nobody does.
Hard to do on Verstappen.
And then shot himself in the foot with a braking under safety car too hard. Do you remember? On the back straight. And that got him a 10-second penalty because Verstappen had to slam on the brakes. And I remember in real time thinking that is a really petty one. But if you go back, I watched it recently again. It's pretty bad. Like he for whatever reason just decides to slow them all down before he's going to go for it again. So that should have been Piastri's win. That's another situation. I don't know where he ends up coming in the end, but by the end of Silverstone, Lando's only 8 points behind him.
Wow. Well, that seems like a good place to take a quick pause here for an ad break. We'll be back with the rest of the 2025 season after this. All right, Danny, please continue.
Are you hungry for more?
Oh, yes.
Oh my God. Off to the Hungaroring. I just want to mention this one because this is, I think, the first moment where we get the real conspiracy stuff coming up. Because this was the one where Piastri was put on, he was leading the race, was put on a 2-stop. Norris was put on the 1-stop. And then ended up being significantly better off as a result of it. Not because of any other chicanery that went on. And I don't think this is it's later where we start getting into, I think it was Monza where we had which is actually pretty close after that.
So a bad pit stop can't possibly be.
Yes.
Like that's where Papaya Rules begins to cover. It's like the insurance policy announces expanded coverage.
So I think these three races I think these three races like exemplify just how bananas this whole season was. And this is right in the middle. So this is Hungary, Zandvoort, and Monza. So in Hungary, we have this 2-stop, 1-stop situation between the McLarens. Lando comes out on top. It's now a 9-point gap between him and Piastri. Verstappen at this point is over 100 points behind the two of them. So he is in the distance. Zandvoort, Lando's car blows up. Smoke in the cockpit, doesn't finish the race. Piastri wins it, 34 points ahead again, right? So he's brought that down, and then another poof of smoke, Lando loses all, and then Piastri's up again.
Which is a real throwback. That kind of stuff used to happen in F1
all the time, and it happens the least at the end of a series of regulations, right? Usually the last year, like this year, is pretty good at that. We didn't have that many, but that was a pretty bad one. The next one then at Monza is where we have the Lando basically is leading, asks to do who should pit first. He says he doesn't mind if Oscar pits first as long as it doesn't allow him to undercut him. So Oscar pits, gets out, Lando pits. It's a slow stop, and then he comes out behind Oscar. And then, they come on the radio and basically ask him to swap around, and then they can race for the final 5 laps. And Oscar, as Rob said, was like, I don't think bad pit stops were part of that conversation. But nevertheless, he does it. Lando wins, and the gap is down to 31 points. So it's just when you think about all three of them in the fight the whole way, you can just see how like every weekend was just exhausting because it was just coming down to all these nips and tucks and tiny little margins.
This is where it became really controversial. I do think in some ways, I think a lot of F1 commentariat does have a slight reactionary Clarkson-esque bent toward like, hey, fortunes of war.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And Papaya rules it's clearly an attempt to sort of work around that, right? That whatever happens, we want them to roughly be on a level playing field and try to take as many variables out of it. So, if it's not going to cost us anything, should this race hinge on the fact that there was a bad pit stop in sort of at a tricky moment? I don't know. I think it was totally fair for Piastri to be like, I just don't know if this is really covered under Papaya rules, but I do understand the impulse. The thing we didn't get to see is like, would it be paid back the other direction as much, right? Like that is the is Piastri going to be sort of insured against this stuff, down the road as well? But they did lay some groundwork out for this, last year, right? Where, Lando hands back a position after scaring the shit out of the team by not by taking his time doing it. But that was, again, like, hey, there's some vagaries of the race, but like, a safety car came out to favor me. What do you want me to do? I think that was the situation. And they had them on the radio being like, please, Lando, think about the future. We have to. So I think and this is the thing. I think McLaren is fundamentally looking at this on a long timeline of what breaks up teams, what destroys winning combinations. It is a sense that there's lingering unfairness, or that the team doesn't have both drivers' backs. And I think Papaya rules over a period of years has been an attempt to sort of demonstrate that, like, as much as we can, when we can isolate the two drivers in the problem, we will try to just give them an equal shot and try not to have the whole thing hinge on a bad bounce. I think that's unusual in F1. It's certainly less straightforward than the story that Rosberg was telling at the end of the season, where the team told him and Hamilton that if you hit each other, you both have to pay for the cars. Previous editions of team rules have amounted to various forms of that, right? Where it's like, do whatever you want, but if you take each other out, there's going to be hell to pay. Beyond that, we don't care. Pie Rules has tried to be a little bit more all-inclusive of the experience, and make sure the drivers walk away feeling like they were treated fairly. And I think it's mostly people outside F1 who were like, well, that's not fair, because you should just, if you're unlucky, you should just get fucked, because that's what happens to me in my life.
Exactly, yeah. Yes. Oh, you just explained most of the internet. Very good.
Yeah.
So here's the thing, though. After Italy, this is where Piastri loses it, because for the next 6 races, he doesn't get a podium. And
doesn't get a podium.
He doesn't get a podium. I think his highest position, is 4th. He gets a bunch of 5ths. He's a disqualification and 1 DNF. The DNF was almost a DNS. That was in Baku, and this was just speaking to what you guys were saying earlier. Like, if we're going to give him the sort of the professor style, style of racing, I guess, where he was always able to accrue some points. Ultimately, it was this run of 6 races that lost him the championship, because even if he wasn't able to win, and I'm not really including the sprint stuff in here, I guess, but he wasn't able to. Basically, the other 2 were constantly chipping away at his lead. So Baku is a nightmare for Piastri. He gets bogged down at the start, and I think he started in 6th or 7th, but he basically, it's not even anti-stall. Something happens to him on the grid, and by the time they get down to the first turn, he is plumb last. On, I think, the 5th or 6th corner, he puts it in the wall.
Right. Oh man, I do remember this.
Yeah. Verstappen wins it. I think Norris gets up there somewhere. The gap is down to 25 points, it looks like. Singapore, this is where Lando hits Piastri on the 2nd turn. into the wall as they're, when they're just on the outside there. They get third and fourth. They win the constructors there, but not very happy at this stage. Max has also, in these past 5 races, driven that 100 points down to 40 behind Lando and 60 behind Piastri. Then our sort of secondary character of the whole season, Nico Hülkenberg, makes a surprise appearance here at the start of the American Grand Prix by spearing Oscar Piastri into Lando Norris on the first turn, wiping them both out. Max wins the race. He's now 40 points behind the lead. Lando then wins Mexico and finally jumps Piastri. He's ahead in the championship by 1 point. And that's Mexico, Piastri got 4th in Singapore, 5th in USA. Oh, sorry, he did finish. Mexico, he got 5th. Interlagos, he got 5th. And then, of course, Vegas, they all got DSQ'd. So that's where his form sort of fell off of a cliff. And that whole time, Verstappen was just getting,
just eating it up.
Yeah, he got 1st in Monza, 1st in Baku, 2nd in Singapore, 1st in America, 3rd in Mexico, 3rd in Brazil, and then didn't lose a race for the rest of the year.
And the gift of Vegas.
And the gift of Vegas, exactly, yeah, which nobody knew until the morning after. So, yeah, and those sprint races as well probably contributed a little bit as well. But by the end of Brazil, Max was only 20 points behind them, and then now we're basically getting into stuff we talked about 2 weeks ago. But yeah, Vegas was the big last sort of historical moment, and then ultimately it was 12 points between Max and Lando at the end of Qatar, and Oscar hoping for Nico Hülkenberg to take out Max and Lando in the first turn. Unfortunately, he didn't do that. I wonder. Actually, I'll take it back. In Qatar, Hülkenberg did crash, and McLaren didn't pit. Do you remember?
Oh, of course.
Yes. So, and then Piastri ended up being on an absolute nightmare strategy. He was the fastest guy all weekend.
Yep.
He was fastest in quali, fastest in practice, and then he somehow ended up in where was he in the end? I think he 4th or so. Is that what it was?
Something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah. So anyway, Hülkenberg just constantly getting in the mix,
Yeah, he finished second.
Second. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they did
behind Max.
They did strand themselves with the strategy. I also do wonder, to what degree was it pressure mounting up on Piastri? Just like this is the first, it's a real short timeline between him coming in as a rookie and then him being in with a really good shot at the title. So to what degree was just the pressure of this kind of overwhelming him as the season goes on versus, again, the car's development path through the year wasn't good. And it does seem like, in particular, this era of cars, once you no longer feel a lot of faith in the car, things get real dicey real fast. And so it does sort of seem that as the car began to lose its dominant position in the championship, Lando adapted to that better than Oscar. Once the car was struggling with some of the performance deficiencies that had opened up to the other teams, that coincided with Piastri's fading fortunes in a way that it didn't with Norris.
Yeah, and Andrea Stella, McLaren team principal, did say some things about how, comparing the two, Oscar just has less experience in F1 cars, compared to Norris. And what he highlighted was that Piastri hasn't yet come to grips, so to speak, with low grip conditions in the way that Norris has. And so that's what he kind of isolated as his weak spot. So one can imagine that, like you said, Rob, just having not been there before or for as long, it's unfamiliar territory, and that makes everything more difficult.
I do, just from rewatching the whole season though, I feel like Piastri has a higher ceiling for competitive wheel-to-wheel racing because he didn't seem to balk at any moment. There were so many times where he was instigating these turn by turn, like in Canada, where Norris eventually did a desperate move trying to get past him, like in Austria, where he almost hit Lando, but he crucially never did. And ultimately, I think like maybe the overtake of the season he did at Abu Dhabi on Lando at the start of the race. He did that crazy round the outside of whatever that turn is.
Right, which Lando didn't fight, but it was still a great move.
Yeah, I think just to hang it out there, I think what's exciting about Oscar is that, like anything, you can't expect, especially over a 24 race season, I think it's maybe if it was a shorter season, the luck falls your way like it did for him a couple of times, and Lando's car blew up and other stuff like that. He drove really well and was unlucky not to get second in the championship as well. But for a raging Red Bull, which really was, like Rob said, just so much more dominant in the second half of the season. I think it cues us up interesting for next year.
100%. I
have a feeling George Russell is about to enter the chat when it comes to next year's championship.
Yeah, I mean, let's kind of run down the drivers from this season and get our just kind of do a vibe check. I think maybe let's start with we've talked about Norris and Oscar, who, by the way, ended head-to-head on qualifying 15 apiece when you factor in sprint races, thanks to the-race.com for compiling stats that I'm going to be referencing here. But yeah, George Russell, I think, was the biggest surprise to me that he was the guy looming in the background for so much of this. And I don't know that I necessarily ascribed consistency to him prior to this, but he was solid.
Yeah, he got a bunch of podiums, 1-2 races as well, one Canada, one Singapore. I think what's interesting, George was sort of floating on his own in fourth by the end. I think it's hard. I kind of want to talk about George and Charles at the same time, because Charles, especially with Lando winning the championship and then seeing George in a car that's performing well as well. I think Leclerc has probably, I wonder if he's going to start, I don't know how long. Remember that contract he signed? It was like 17 billion years, and we were like, "That's crazy." That's probably coming up soon.
Well, we won't be alive when that contract ends, so we don't need to think about it.
That kid who's shouted "Charles Leclerc" it will be like an old man by the time.
I can look that up.
Leclerc.
Yeah, you're right, but that contract is coming up. Like that is like we have now reached the end of that unprecedented. Like, wow, they really like put a ring on it.
Yes.
There is.
And do you think he's going to stick around? Because like at this stage, we've gone through a couple of different eras at Ferrari. I mean, next year is a big change, but like he might start to lose confidence in the project.
He has said so. I mean, I was off the show when this came up, but the John Elkann talking to the press about like, I kind of wish my drivers would stop just dragging the shit out of Ferrari at every turn.
Yeah, that's
because and this is the thing. Like, there's all this attention. It's sort of like an AJ Brown situation with the Eagles, where like AJ Brown gets all this flack for like basically talking shit about Jalen Hurts and the Eagles offense all the time, but like. The other receivers in the room have also said similar things. It's just that A.J. Brown draws all the attention. There's been a bit of that with Hamilton, where like Hamilton is going through it so badly, it kind of overshadows the degree to which for multiple seasons, Leclerc has also made remarks along the lines of like, get it together, guys. Like we cannot keep doing this. And so I do think Leclerc's patience and faith in Ferrari is probably really limited, but the problem with that all these guys face is, okay, but where's the grass greener? Where are you going to go? McLaren has no reason to. They have every reason to try to keep their lineup right now as is. They're not going to want to. They're not going to change things up. Verstappen might also be wanting to shop for a new team if things don't pick up in 2026. So it's tough to know how these things go. And then there's also the big question: two big like Jenga tiles. Like Alonso and Hamilton are not going to do this forever. And so there's kind of seats that you have questions about. There's Hulkenberg is sort of in his swan song with an Audi team. Who knows what they're going to do. So I do think Leclerc at this point might be like, okay, I put my faith in this team, hasn't been rewarded. I want to go hunting for a championship. I don't know what his better bet is. For going and finding that possibility.
The race also has a good quote here from Leclerc. They were asking him if he still believed he could be world champion with Ferrari. He said, "I do," and then added, "Next year will be a crucial year." So read into that what you will. And from my notes, I have here he signed a several season extension to his contract in January of 2023, assumed to be through 2026.
There you go. So Russell, was a steady hand in a car that it was kind of all over it seemed like it started well and then had a bit of a dip, or maybe I just took my eyes off it and then seemed to come good again at the end of maybe it was just race by race. There was some tracks that just suited the Mercedes and some tracks where it didn't.
I think I was maybe surprised by Russell because in my head I had sort of written off Mercedes until 2026 because they took that real dip in performance when the ground effect came in. And with, I think then, versus me feeling like Ferrari was buoyed by Fred Vasseur coming in, being like, all right, Fred's here, we're going to turn it around. But it really things stabilized back to normal, or at least how I interpret normal.
Yeah.
Kimi had a decent season too. He had a chunk of retirements in the middle of the season.
That's true, yeah.
Which really messed with his sort of flow, but he was fairly consistent on either side of that.
His trip to Italy was a disaster, right? Like there was sort of this lingering funk of like things started well, and then it was. I think he also had to finish high school or something, but he went like starting around Imola. It was like can't wait to go to Italy, and
I think it was his quinceañera, wasn't
my
it?
hometown. Yeah, and just it didn't go well, and then I feel there was sort of a lull for a lot of the season where it was like, oh man, like Toto's gonna have to fire the kid who has a stuffed bear he calls his Toto bear.
That's right.
I can't do that. I can't face that. And then Kimi came alive. So, like, again, it's sort of been a flawless victory for the F1 rookies, really overall, if we sort of delete Doohan from that category. As someone that was basically being strung along by Flavio. And then was sort of flung back into the ocean.
Kimi also denied a fun Las Vegas podium because it happened. He got third once the McLarens were disqualified. Although I'm not sure how much fun you can have in Vegas as a 16-year-old or whatever.
Do we want to run down some of the other rookies here and just to kind of reset? We've got Bortoleto, Hadjar, Behrman, Doohan, Colapinto, and Antonelli.
Do we all love Isaac Hadjar?
Lawson?
I love Hadjar.
I love Hadjar. I think he is the standout.
Yeah.
Behrman also made a late season case for that. I mean, he finished in qualifying 17 over Ocon's 12.
Right.
Really put Ocon on notice.
Yeah, he did.
And I think brought better performance. Like, I think there was a minute there where Ocon was getting rinsed by Behrman. And I think Ocon sort of snapped too. Now, Behrman, I believe the other thing is that for a while there, I feel like Behrman had shitty qualifying days. He couldn't turn it on on command, but his race pace tended to be really good. And he sort of handled that deficiency as the season went on. So I'm with you. Like, I think really strong debut from him. I would probably put him after Hadjar in terms of the rookie power rankings. Where like Hadjar, I think we all kind of feel, to use like football terms, right? Oh, what we got here is a franchise quarterback. You know, this is someone who is going to be, a team is going to have him as like a load-bearing athlete for a number of years to come. He seems to have the mental game, just the raw talent, the speed, everything you want from an F1 driver seems to be there with Hadjar. Everyone else seems promising. Like, they will be, at the very least now, I think the floor is like probably decent F1 drivers. The question is whether they're going to ascend to like also being, if not like a franchise quarterback, like at least in that Valtteri category of, well, this is obviously someone you get, if not as a number one, then certainly as an excellent number two.
It's almost just like a way in which the teams approach, or like their expectations are now, where like teams are now looking for that generational talent, and the lack of patience that they have to do so means that they're all rolling the dice on all these guys. Because like Behrman and Hadjar were both drivers that I was like, these guys are awesome. They look young and fresh and inexperienced in the way that you would be, driving an F1. And in years gone by, we would see these guys in one of these B or C teams for like 3 years before they got called up, and they would build that experience. And that's why I'm once again sort of terrified by Hadjar going up to Red Bull, and why I think I was dismayed by so much of the Helmut Marko planning stuff, because you just feel like you're ruining these, it's because maybe you don't get that generational talent, but maybe you ruin the ceiling on one of these drivers, being a Nico Hülkenberg or like a steady hand for a number of years. But I guess in the sport that it is, that's what they're looking for. It does, but then when you look at things like Kick or Sauber, right, where you've got Bortoleto and Hülkenberg completely outperformed Bortoleto all year,
except in qualifying head-to-head.
Really?
Bortoleto 15, Hülkenberg 14.
Wow. Well, where it mattered.
And Bortoleto had races where he was great. Like, even we can laugh at Colapinto for not having any points, the only driver not to. 17 Gasly, Colapinto 5 in qualifying head to head. But I think Danny, you said we don't really have a bottom of the barrel guy here. Even he's in an Alpine.
Jack Doohan,
right?
Right, and Jack Doohan was in an Alpine when that car felt like it was being basically taped together on its way to the grid.
Yeah,
and
fair.
then you had every race like Flavio like being the Dread Pirate Roberts and being like, I don't know, maybe I'll kill this kid after the race. Maybe I won't. Except maybe I'll kill this kid after. Like he's sort of mumbling his little like.
What do you say? Murder?
Fuck are you saying, Flavio? I know you can speak English better than this. You've been in the sport for like your whole fucking life.
The ether is about to kick in. Give him a second.
Yeah. So, I think Bortoleto is probably the driver that I still probably have the most reservations about. Like I've seen flashes where it's like, okay, you can do this. I haven't been sold on like this is going to be a enduring like feature of the F1 landscape. Like he's had flashes. I think he maybe also gets a little more extension of the benefit of the doubt because he's got that Fernando Alonso seal of approval.
Ooh. That's right. Speaking of enduring figures, Hamilton? How are we feeling about old Hammy?
How's Hammy feeling about himself? That's what I want to know. I mean,
so
I
genuinely don't think you can dismiss the fact
Roscoe
was dying for a good leg of the season, and like I mean, lots of people have pets, and they go through this and all this stuff. But like, Hamilton is a pet guy. he's like Roscoe's been a huge part of his life, and then dealing with it's sort of like a lingering health crisis with a family member. Like it seems like it was going in the background for a good portion of the start of the season. So I think that's like got to be part of the evaluation. Then you have the usual changing teams this thoroughly, where different power unit, different team is always like one of the trickiest acts in F1. And then this is the end of a regulation period, and so the field is super tightened up. Everything gets exaggerated. So I'm not at like we need to start talking about like whether Hamilton's washed.
Yeah,
but he was getting beat like a drum last year at Mercedes, and now it happened again.
Yeah, I think it has less to do with the points when you look at them on the board, and more to do with every week his expectation and the team's expectation, and that he kept having mistakes or calls that just never quite worked. I think every week something happened that chipped away. Like, it wasn't like he had good weeks and bad weeks. It was, he had a couple of good weeks in there, of course, but like there was a lot of that. And I also like I think they should bring Bono over, because like the communication between him and his pit wall is an absolute disaster. It's like
his name Adami.
I forget the guy. You know his accent.
Like, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good. It, like, mind you, Claris doesn't always feel good, but they seem to have an arch, like slightly snipey relationship. Going back
it's kind of funny.
It is. Oh, there's water in my seat. Oh yes, that's because of the water.
Yeah, he was like,
let's put that in the words of wisdom.
Yeah, yeah. Whereas Hamilton's like saying, give me more information, or stop talking, or just like,
right.
Yeah,
they are not on the same page.
No, not at all. I don't know. It's. I think obviously 2026 can't come soon enough for a lot of these guys, and there was a bit of that fallow year problem with coming in right at the end of the regulation. I'm just surprised how much mentally he's not there, because like that's something with Hamilton for years you would have always credited.
But he's always kind of been like that. He's always been he can tip in as soon as he tips into like doom and gloom, he's firmly there. But then can seemingly crawl his way out of it. But he's just Danny, and to your point about like making mistakes, I think it's to me it feels more like there isn't really anything you can point to most of the day. It's just like he's just kind of slow.
Yeah,
and has not really come around to this car. And I'm same with you, Rob. I'm not ringing alarm bells here yet. I think I would. I fully. I feel like if Hamilton I feel like him turning it around and having a great 2026 is totally possible. And that's what I'm hoping to see. But 2025 qualifying head to head, Leclerc 23. Hamilton 7.
Well, I mean, especially the last like quarter, like he didn't get out of Q3 for weeks on end. Like that was really troublesome. Or Q1, sorry.
Q1.
That was really worrisome when you saw that happening.
Yeah, and that it was happening toward the end of the season, where theoretically you should have shaken a lot of the kinks out of your connection to the car, and actually it seems to be like down, like trending down again. And the thing I try to bear in mind is like, we have seen these periods with Hamilton. I can't remember what year it was, but there's a period with Mercedes where it was like he looked pretty mental. I think it might have been like during some of the harder moments with Verstappen, not Verstappen,
Rosberg,
Vettel, where like it started to look like he was losing faith in himself and the cars, and it can go dark for a while in terms of just the atmosphere and mood. And he goes through that, and then he comes out the other side. He's a resilient driver and can fight back from things like this. The thing that concerns me is I always remember I think it was either like Coulthard talking about this, or maybe it was Damon Hill, but I think it was DC. When it starts to go, you don't know where it went. You feel like you're the same driver you always were. It's just like a few hundredths here and there just disappear, and you just have zero idea what happened to it, because from your standpoint, you got the same timing, you're hitting the points just as precisely, you feel exactly the same driver you were, the year before, and the timesheet is telling you you're not. And there's a point later where you can tell you don't have it, and you can feel now that, like, age, reflexes, feel for things like that. You know now that, like, there's a tenth or two that's, like, gone away that you're just not getting back. But the first stage is, there's, like, up to a tenth that just disappears without you being able to point at a single thing that you're doing wrong. And that's scary, because that is obviously, like, that is not remediable. That is, you are driving to the peak of your ability. There's no mistake you can point to that you can detect. It's just that you no longer have that, like, super finely honed margin that you used to.
Well, I want to talk more about 2026, but first, I've compiled a list here of the biggest news stories from 2025. I feel like, people were with us the whole time. Don't need to hear all these rehashed again. But I thought it would be
sort
fun
of like
to just kind of go through and
like the in memoriam section. Like, we'll just remember
sure,
that.
yeah.
Christian Horner's face flashes on the screen. I will remember you. Yeah.
We got Massa still out there fighting about 2008.
Love it.
We got Cadillac coming in. It's really exciting. The whole Lawson Tsunoda swap, the Doohan Colapinto swap, like a lot of this mid-season chicanery. Speaking of which, oh my God, Ben Sulayem. I don't want to linger on this too much. He just got confirmed as president. All that stuff about V10s and then V8s, the swearing, people resigning all over the place, the rigged election.
I hate him so much.
Yeah.
Carlos Sainz Sr., why couldn't you save us?
Yeah.
Now, because you can't. Because Bernie Ecclestone's wife is just like fucking Spartans and Thermopylae, just like refusing to, like, you can't get through. So guess what, everybody? Everyone's hair is getting touched. Okay, you don't want this guy to touch your hair? Too bad.
Too bad he's president.
He's gonna pet you, and he's from Qatar, so he pets you. At least that appeared to be what he was explaining to newly crowned championship, crowned by a touch of his hand. So that appears to be what he was explaining to Lando, who was like, "What the fuck?" And it was like, I'm Qatari. Don't worry about it. It was like, yes,
you are mine now. You are my pet.
I won't. We had all those rumors about Verstappen maybe going to Mercedes. He actually had to come out and say, like, press release. I am honoring my contract at Red Bull.
Remember that great line from Horner, was it last year, where he said if Mercedes are looking for Verstappen, I think they should see if Joss is available. I thought that was.
Oh, that's pretty good.
That made me laugh.
Yeah. Liberty Media acquiring MotoGP. That is happening. The F1 movie came out.
It was a good movie. I like that movie. I've watched it. Yeah. I've watched it again since.
Oh, yeah?
It's great. Yeah. It's good times.
Colton Herta going to F2. Going to try to work his way in. And also, we had a recent news story. The super license points. Please, Rob.
I was kind of like, he's going to Formula 2. Yeah. I want to have my shot at Formula 1. So I'm going to Formula 2. FIA. Yeah, fuck it. You guys can have super license points.
In IndyCar?
Yep.
Well, they have for many years, but they're even more now. I think because the 2026 regulations are going to bring F1 cars closer to what
they were super stingy with the super license points before. Yeah. It was like, if you are the greatest IndyCar driver in the world, that makes you like half of a Formula 2 driver. Like, it's kind of the way they treated it.
Yeah.
So I do think, and I think it's smart because, look, everyone knows, like, I am the number one, like, Alex Palou stan here. But, like, there's kind of a ridiculous thing where there's this logistical hurdle for teams who are like, I want to upgrade with the best firepower I can possibly get in the driver's seat. And it's like, great. You better see what's available in Formula 2 or on the current drivers market, because all these other drivers over here, you can't
exist
because they don't meet the qualifications. So you'll have a huge process to get them up to speed, and it's not going to work. And that it's just kind of silly when you do have a couple drivers who are truly standouts. Who it's like they could obviously be in F1. I don't know how high achieving they would be, but it's kind of ridiculous that you're saying you couldn't even consider them for role, especially with the smaller
It'd be like
teams.
showing a medieval child a phone. Their head would just explode if they saw what DRS was.
Can't handle it. Speaking of career moves, Ricardo retiring from racing.
In the worst way, though.
Embracing the Ford Motor Company.
The Instagram, the fucking Ford logo with his announcement about my future coming soon. What's next? Everyone's like, oh shit. Is he going to endurance racing? Is he going to be racing like Mustangs and like WEC or something? Who knows? And he's like, I'm a brand ambassador for Ford.
What's he up to now? Is he just like ambassadoring?
He was selling creatine, dog. He was he was out there. He was just like, I need the highest performance. I need the highest performance stuff for my high performance life, even though I don't race anymore. But you got to be thinking about what's next, and that requires high performance, and that's why I'm having Thorn Labs creatine delivered to my home.
Is he actually doing that stuff?
Yeah.
Oh boy,
it's not. Here's the thing. I think we have to go back and we have to consider the possibility that the homie from season 1 of Drive to Survive that he later got in a lawsuit with for like being a bad representative and like trying to like claim his earnings and all that. I think that guy may have been the last guy to have a firm hand on Danny's career, because like he was the one who's like, I'm set. Like you work for Cyril, and you know you'll be the golden child over at Renault, and then he has a falling out with that dude, and that dude disappears, and then he jumps ship on Cyril. Cyril gets fired. He goes to McLaren, and gets absolutely like beat to shit by Lando. And then it's just free fall. So I do think we have to consider the possibility that, the weird like homie manager model was load bearing for Ricardo.
We had CEO of F1 Stefano Domenicali out there talking about, well, people don't have good attention spans. We got to shorten these races. Also, we got to simplify all this language and make it easy for the dumbs out there. Which they are.
Welcome to the first Vine Grand Prix. All right. Well, hope you enjoyed it.
There's also another recent news story of them going like, the names for the new movable aerodynamics, it's like X and Y mode.
X mode, like, Y mode, Z mode.
We got to figure that out. And not boost mode or push to pass. They don't know what to call that yet either. Those I think we should figure out, but I think that was going in the wrong direction. We talked a lot about that. Rob, you mentioned Pilot and McLaren still in the courts. EA getting acquired by investors, including the Saudis, so they're everywhere, even in the F1 video games.
And then being like, "Hey, enjoy next year, no F1 game, but enjoy this update."
Yeah,
right.
Putting that blood money to good use. Oh, sorry, oil money. Sorry.
Right. Speaking of money, F1 TV to Apple TV from 2026 for, I don't even remember was it
My
like
parents are
$1
so
billion?
mad. My parents are so mad, but the thing is, I'm just going to buy them an Apple TV 4K puck and just send it to them and be like, your life is going to be better.
Yeah, our whole
Like,
house is Apple
I'm just
TV.
straight with you. Like, you're going to like this, believe me.
Yeah. We got the cooling vests. We got near misses with marshals happening way too frequently.
Way too much.
Or maybe you could gamify it. Like, all right, and now this is the part of the sprint where we release the marshals onto the track.
Like
Which of
Man.
our daring drivers can avoid the most marshals?
We got Adrian Newey becoming Aston Martin team principal. We've got Red Bull finally shifting their drivers around, putting Hadjar at the second seat in Red Bull. Lindblad in at Racing Bulls, and Tsunoda saying goodbye, as does...
Doesn't Arvin Lindblad, though, sound like he should be a DJ?
I was just about to say, I think we have been desensitized to insane names.
You're right.
To such a degree that we have never batted an eyelid at this person's name.
I know. I don't think I could remember it for 2 years because I was like, no.
Well, look,
it's fake.
Look, Helmut Marko is going out, so we need to have one come back in.
Yeah, but we all just all accepted the fact that Germans, the most warlike people of Germany. Look, I'm sorry to Germans listening, but there's I'm just going by the record here. But just a German name is Helmut. Like
yes.
It's just okay, sure. That's a normal name. Here's my son Helmut. This is my son Shield, and here's my son Poleaxe. So I made my peace with that. But you got a guy.
My God!
I'm Arvin Lindblad. Immediately, techno starts to play. I don't know why.
Darude Sandstorm just kicks off. Yeah.
Well, kicking off next year, 2026, we got a brand new team in Cadillac. Usually, teams just get acquired, such as Audi purchasing Sauber. This is our first new team since Haas in 2016. We've got the Madring replacing Imola.
I forgot about the Madring. Mm-hmm. At least they didn't replace Barcelona. That would have been an absolute travesty.
Oh no, but that thing's on death watch. Come on, that's basically in the European Grand Prix, halfway house of palliative care for an F1 facility. Just like Spa's gonna be switching off with another track. We'll love it.
Right.
Yeah.
No more DRS. We've got movable aerodynamics and push to pass coming in. A 50-50 split between the internal combustion engine and the electric powertrain. We got sustainable fuels, you guys.
Yay,
Hell
problem
yeah.
solved. They're made out of rainbow diarrhea from unicorns, I believe.
Thoughts on 20s? I'm excited to see. I have no idea what to expect from Cadillac. I have no idea what to expect from the cars. Are they going to be revving down the straights to power the battery back up? Is that going to be weird? The movable aerodynamics is going to be bizarre. Push to passes is completely different well, not completely different. It's a slightly different paradigm from DRS. Is Hamilton going to be good? Is McLaren going to continue their dominance, considering we have a complete reset now of the regulations? But, they have all that money that they won from being the Constructors' Champion 2 years in a row. So I really have no idea where this is all going to go, and I am fascinated to see.
Yeah, I think with the new teams, also, we shouldn't forget about the new engine stuff. So Red Bull is going to end up with a Ford engine, right? Or I guess they're doing their own Red Bull engines, but they're doing them with Ford.
Ford's now helping them instead of Honda.
So that's going to be super interesting because they, who knows what happens there? That's the first time they've ever done their own engine stuff. So they could fall off a cliff or
Red Bull's been doing it for a while, and Ford used to be an F1 engine maker.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I don't know. In the
question marks there.
The possibility space is endless. That's the whole thing about preseason, is that the possibility space is endless until the first preseason practice, and then suddenly it's a cone that has been shaved down.
A new Adrian Newey designed car in Aston Martin, and they're making, so Honda's moving to Aston to become their works engine supplier, and I think we're getting an Aston Martin engine in this 2026 car, which will be new.
Are you more excited about Audi or Cadillac?
Cadillac. Yeah.
Even with their geriatric lineup?
Hang on.
Yeah.
Hang on.
The bridesmaids? Can we call them the bridesmaids?
Look. Valtteri has Riz now. It's
true.
He does.
100%.
And so I do think this is now a thoroughly divorced Valtteri, and he's now partnered up with someone who seems to have similar match each other's freak type.
Wait, he hasn't gotten divorced again. You're saying
no.
Okay.
From years ago, but
yes.
Fully, rizzed up Valtteri Bottas. I think is we will see. He was a very good driver. He just wasn't as good as Lewis Hamilton, which that is no fault of anyone. Checo, we'll see. I do think there's a bit of
He's hungry, man.
That Red Bull is a reputation destroyer. It makes you look
Yeah.
like an asshole.
Yeah.
And so I do think we now need to see. We may all need to send him apologies, depending on how the season goes out. But I am more excited. The Audi project has been troubled for like their arrival went from being exciting to being like somewhat concerning.
Well, and they're also,
yeah.
if my information is correct, debuting their own power unit in 2026, which even Mattia Binotto was like, yeah, don't expect anything from us. It'll be a little bit before we figure this out.
Man, I mean, it'll be exciting to see them back. That's always the thing. It's like when Albon came back. It's like, oh, I forgot you were gone. It's I'm excited for Hülkenberg at Audi next year. I hope. That's my secret desire, is that car actually ends up being like something special, like almost like a button, season where
it could happen.
He's in the fight. Yeah, it's the thing about this year that we have to remember as well is that by the end of this, like as much as I'm like poo-pooing Hamilton's results and not being able to get into Q3, the pack in terms of speed was so compressed by the end of maybe let's let the two McLarens and Verstappen loan up there, maybe Russell. The rest of them were just like intensely close to each other for the last like half of this season. And I think probably next year we're going to have to get used to that flipping again, like that there being like, 4/10 between cars and seconds between the field, as they deal with, especially at the start, as they deal with the new regulations. Because I think it was pretty remarkable just how close everyone was by the end of this season.
Well, when are we going to see the 2026 cars? That is the question. The race has a good write-up of when we're going to see various liveries and actual cars. So Red Bull will be first with their liveries on January 15th. And we're seeing the liveries of Alpine on the 23rd of January, along with Haas, same day. Cadillac is revealing their F1 livery at the Super Bowl on February 8th. Great cross-promotional opportunity. Bowl. Yeah, or during the halftime show.
Cadillac car?
Cadillac, yeah.
That's a great jet. That's
great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Aston Martin, I think, will be the first to reveal their actual car the following day, February 9th. However, there will be a behind closed doors test of the 2026 cars from January 26th to 30th. So who knows if some spy photos come out after that.
Yes.
And that's all we know about that so far.
Breaking news, the 2026 Concord Agreement I'm being very Northern California, calling it the Concord.
Yeah.
Concord Agreement, the 9th Concord Agreement, just got signed between the 11 teams. Doesn't say anything about how much Ferrari are getting. I can't tell you. So, anyway, breaking news.
All right. Well, that is our look back and forward. Should we take it to the emails?
Emails.
Yes. Shift+F1podcast@gmail.com or fn.cool/emails. You want to take us through it, Rob?
Yeah. I hope I can read this one because it didn't actually say it was for the podcast, but it seemed like it's from one of our sponsors, and I think this is too cute. So, Stephanie writes, "My name is Stephanie. I'm the wife of Corey, your newest title sponsor, though it's really collective unit sponsorship. And we are the parents of Margot. I just wanted to give you guys some context on that title sponsor name if he hadn't in his submission. He surprised me with it today.
Aww.
First of all, Margot is our first child, and she is 3 months old this week. Woohoo! Second of all, given that information, the astute, biologically inclined mathematician might be able to do some calculations and realize that her creation jives with the Las Vegas GP last year.
Oh. Nice.
Corey and I live in Las Vegas and got an F1 2 years ago this week. We turned on Drive to Survive the night of the first Las Vegas GP to see what everyone was on about. I've never been a sports person in any capacity, but something about F1 has captured me from that first introduction. It is literally the only sport I follow, and I absolutely love following it. It all started the first year getting into it. Your podcast has been a staple of our enjoyment since then as well. Of course, he's always been a video game guy, so when I told him about this podcast, he had to double take his worlds colliding. Last year, after following the sport for a year, we decided to wander the strip during free practice just to see what we could see. Cut to buying last-minute tickets for qualies. Cut to in for a penny, in for a pound, buying tickets for the GP itself day of.
Yeah.
It was so exciting to watch last year in person. We had a blast seeing those spaceships in person. And now, a year later, we have not only the memories of our first GP in person that weekend, but also a tiny title sponsor to show for it. You've all become like friends in our home, being the soundtrack in the background as I wobbled through pregnancy and now as we navigate new parenthood. This year, we're watching the LVGP. Assuming this freak rainstorm we've all had this week doesn't ruin it from the comfort of our home, but we are thrilled to help support your work. Thank you for what you guys do. I think that is far too cute. And everyone has to know about like conceiving a child at the Las Vegas Grand Prix.
Absolutely, it might be the only cute conceiving in Las Vegas that's possible. I feel like that's
real true. This was too good to just stay in Vegas. We had to put this over the air. I hope you find cute. I hope you find cute big ear protectors for your little one if you go back. I feel like babies and giant like professional grade ear protectors is always one of the cutest things in the world. And if you guys decide to have a second child, endurance racing seems like it is built to accompany you through the long doldrums of pregnancy. What if you just put on a race and just like have an entire day deleted? So that's my pitch.
Thanks, Stephanie, Corey, and Margot. Also, I love that name. Margot's a great name. I love that name.
Drew, you want to read this next one?
Yes, Matt writes, every season you've done a preseason primer, but with the drastic change in regulations, have you all considered doing a pre-regulation primer? I know the high-level changes with active aero for both the front and rear wing, but I do not know the other changes. A deep dive into what is changing overall from the previous season would be really helpful. Just an idea if it's too much to add into this already scheduled plan. Please do not overextend yourself to do it.
I kind of assume that's kind of what we've always done as well, right? All the technical stuff as well.
Yeah, 100%. So the preseason primer will include not only here's who all the drivers are and what the teams are about, but also here's how the sport works and here's how it's now working for this new season. So we absolutely will talk about all of that. I imagine we'll probably compartmentalize it and be like, hey, if you already know who the drivers and teams are, maybe skip to the part where we're talking about the regulations. I think we'll do that.
And I wonder if we're going to have to record. There's been some years where we've recorded them later than others because there's been more questions up in the air. Like even after Abu Dhabi, the day after they did some active aero tests and just the variability on the front wings. Like some of them still had those big crazy, they have these like pipes that are being fed in like to activate the front wing winglets and all that stuff. And everyone had totally different setups. And so I imagine a lot of this stuff is not really going to shake out until testing and then probably will evolve quite a lot as well. So, we'll be giving you the heads up on how everything's different, but I suspect that things will continue to change weeks and months into the season.
Oh yeah. I mean, it always is a snapshot, right? So, but yeah, we will definitely be going into all of that.
John writes, hello, Danny, Robin, Drew. In the past 18 years I've been a fan of F1. I felt a consistent yet juxtaposing narrative surrounding two drivers in particular. From his first championship win right up to his current performance, or lack thereof, with Ferrari, Lewis Hamilton's on-track performance has been met with a consistent undertone of skepticism. All the while, Fernando Alonso is generally held in much higher esteem, in spite of not winning a single race in 13 seasons. After his objectively bad Vegas qualification, one media outlet in particular drew a similar comparison between the two, in spite of Lewis still having a 100-point lead this season. Obviously, luck is part of the equation in every sport, but hearing the bad luck excuse for Fernando over the past decade is starting to wear thinner than a McLaren skid block. Why does he get a pass for a decade of meh overall performance, while Lewis needs to hang the glitter lid after one poor season on a new team? I don't really fully grant the premise. I think there have been moments that, as we alluded to, like people kind of wonder if Lewis has, finally hit the decline. But one reason you get narratives like that when you are one of the greatest of all time is that people are kind of curious when the dominance is going to end. People have sort of been reading last rites over LeBron James for, years at this point. And even when it's like, obviously he's still objectively great, but is he damaging his legacy by continuing to play? Maybe he should have gone out on a higher note than he's going to go. So I think there's been a bit of that. I do think there is a lot of benefit of the doubt extended to Fernando. I think a big part of that is it's a confidence thing to some extent, a vibes thing. Like Fernando is kind of brilliant at promoting himself throughout his sort of wilderness years at McLaren, right? He would get out of the car finishing like P17 and be like, I just drove the greatest race of my career. And people are like, well, shit, if he says that was the greatest race of his career,
he would know.
He would know. Yeah, his car sucks, but I mean, he must be a genius. So I think there's a bit of that where like Fernando, like we joked about, like Lewis gets out of the car and gives you these haunted interviews where he's like, I just don't know. It's the same thing. I can't. I don't know. There's nothing to hope for. I'll attend the race tomorrow, but really, who cares? What does any of this mean? And Fernando will get out of the car and just absolutely be like, I'm the greatest driver in history. It is a shame the machinery can't show you that and isn't worthy of my talents, but I have confidence in this team to turn around, and I can't wait to show you what Lance and I are capable of. And that's the thing. He also be like, well, yeah, like go team. Like, how's Lance doing? Hey, like, but he gets out of it, and his vibe, like, drove this piece of shit through for 2 hours, finished completely anonymously, might as well not have shown up, and he'll hop out of the car and be like, nailed it. Y'all see that?
I think the two things that came to mind you've basically said. One is that Hamilton's been driving in competitive cars, and Alonso hasn't. He hasn't gotten one of those tickets in a long while. He's been in the mid-pack or lower. And then the other one is just like, this is, I feel like, a rule that, or a lesson that I don't think people learn until they're older. I certainly didn't learn it until my maybe mid-20s or something like that, which is that, like, you really shouldn't, and I'm not calling this to Alonso, but this is something that definitely applies here, is that you cannot underestimate the power of somebody who speaks confidently and is an absolute tool. Most of the most popular, like, radio presenters, podcasters, internet personalities are some of the stupid, and hey, maybe we are too, but some of the stupidest, like, kind of charlatans, like, just absolute dumbasses.
Fernando Alonso has C-suite energy.
A little
bit. He has, like, director and C-suite energy of like, I am unencumbered by self-doubt or humility.
Yeah, exactly. I have no humility. And like, I can, off the top of my head, I can name you about like 4 or 5 people in the internet spheres that I inhabit who have this in spades and have managed to carve out good careers being confident idiots. And yes, I think Alonso has, I'm not saying he's an idiot, but I'm saying that his confidence is his main power, and the lack of self-doubt or showing self-doubt is probably a really good skill to have as a driver, honestly. And Hamilton is on the complete opposite end of the scale, where he is more of the younger generation. He is vulnerable. He is open emotionally. And I think that's why you end up drawing those two conclusions. And I like Fernando. I'm not trying to knock on him, but his confidence is a superpower, and I think it kind of works well in the teams he's in. I think he wouldn't get away with it if he was in a competitive car and, like, his teammate was Charles Leclerc or something like that.
Should I take this next one from Tim?
Yeah.
All right, Tim writes, as a person that's very sensitive to spoilers, and I'm right there with you, Tim, here's something I think about every time I don't watch a race live, and I wanted to see if something you've thought of as well. Do the video thumbnails on F1 TV contain spoilers? I always squint and cover as much as possible of the screen with my hand when I click around to start the race replay. My fear is that the thumbnail would show the winning car/team or some big event from the race like a crash. Do you have any insight into this? Is it something that bothers you too? I have a lot of thoughts on this.
I have a lot
First
of thoughts
of all,
on this.
When F1 TV first came out, they were awful about this. They would just show the winning car coming across the finish line in the thumbnail every single time. It was terrible. Now they don't do that so much anymore. I think they tend to pick a car that has at least some storyline in the race, but it's frequently not the most important one. So if Hulkenberg made a great pass or something, you would see him, in the thumbnail. They do like to put crashes in the thumbnails.
Yeah, that's true.
So that is, they are not immune to that. There's also, I think they're relatively consistent in their thumbnail choices from this angle across F1 TV and on YouTube. They also tend not to do the dumbest, obvious thing in the thumbnail. And even when they do there's a thumbnail for like the drivers react after the race, and they have 3 heads. It's not, I don't think it's ever the podium.
Top 3, yeah.
So you might get the winner in there, but you might not. So I would say probably not the worst thing to continue to try to avoid them. But if you see something, don't think like, well, that's the one that wins.
Yeah, totally. We have to do a quick shout out to MotoGP's website. Do you remember the no spoiler mode they used to have?
Yes. Oh my God. Yes.
The MotoGP used to have a no spoiler mode, which was their entire website, but the thumbnails were disappeared and they like stripped all the news out so you could just go in and get the highlights to your heart's content. I have been in Ireland now for 2 weeks, and the Champions League is on, the football, the European football stuff, and whoever is over here putting the highlights up on YouTube is a fucking psychopath, because they put up like amazing 2-1 comeback, 96th minute, like is like the name of the video. I'm like, what? Like, why would you do? Like, I know why you're doing it. You're trying to get me to click on it, but I was going to watch all these games anyway, you jerk. So that's been an absolute nightmare. But I watched the race this time on F1 TV after my godmother's funeral. I watched the second half of it, and that was a real. I do the whole stand far away from the TV and squint thing. Just kind of squint my eyes so I can't see too good, and then try and make it that way, and that worked. Science.
I think all these things, especially if you have a dedicated app that you control, you should have a spoiler-free mode. The NBA Game Pass has a great.
Oh, it does.
There's the toggle. Do you want to see results, scores, or not?
It's great.
If you don't want to see it, then they will just show you the logos of the teams and the date they played.
Oh, that's brilliant. Oh, really?
Like, don't see shit. And when you highlight that game, no associated content comes up to be like. And here's the winners. Here's an interview with the player. That's clearly the winner's interview.
That's brilliant.
Which is like NBC does this on Peacock all the time, where it's like, okay, they didn't spoil the race, except in the next bar below it, it's a winner's interview from the race, and so it's like, okay, well, that's now I know. Like every app should take care to allow for this, because I think. It's weird. There's so many apps and news sites where like what people really want is like immediate results and scores. What about push notifications for results and scores? It's like no. I want to enjoy my sport.
I've got my phone here if I need to do that.
Yeah, I can Google this. The reason I'm not Googling that is because I want to go home and enjoy my sport. Yeah. All right, last email. Liam writes, with Lando securing this year's driver championship, my mind has been thinking a lot about the future of the drivers he entered F1 with, like George, Charles, and Alex Albon. Their generation of drivers were all touted to some degree as young prodigies that would bring their respective teams their future success. And while it has been mostly true to varying degrees, it does feel like the window is starting to close on their chances at a driver's championship. Piastri will be coming back with a vengeance next year, and Max's late season surge seems to point toward a positive turn for Red Bull into the new regulations. Add the fact that the rookies who came into F1 this year are looking just as primed and ready to win it. And it all creates a landscape that looks harder and harder to come out on top. So going into these new regulations, how do you all feel about the fortunes of the Netflix generation of drivers?
Yeah.
So
go for it.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, the thing is, I think it's two. George was really unlucky, and Lando was really lucky in that George was wedded to the Mercedes program, but they had two good drivers on hand, and so they had him cooling his heels during the worst era of Williams. And he finally gets promoted. So he's early into F1, but his cohort get better rides while he is, doing he's learning the ropes, blowing the doors off Nicholas Latifi and Robert Kubica. His cohort is landing in Ferrari. It's heading to McLaren, and then he gets promoted to Mercedes right as Mercedes, kind of remains a anonymous program in F1 in terms of distinction. So there's been bad luck, but I think that all goes away if that car is good next year. Do I think he can fend off Antonelli? Yeah, I do. Because I think Antonelli, I think George has that sort of steadiness and arrogance and experience that just lets you handle the pressure of an F1 campaign. I'm not sure Antonelli's there. It's not to say he can't get there, but it really depends on can that team deliver the goods. And I do think with his performances, George is still in that category of he would be a lot of teams' shortlist for a number one driver.
Yeah.
Leclerc, similar thing, but the car has not been good. So I think these guys all still have their window, and I think they would still be taken over a lot of these rookies. But where it gets tricky is silly season is not what it was because all the teams, to the point Danny made earlier, they lock up their young drivers for these multi-year contracts. And so you don't have a lot of flexibility to go chase performance and go chasing glory with different teams. You're kind of stuck with the program that brought you in. So it's even harder, I think, in some ways than it used to be, where you could, sort of hope to hop to a different team and catch them on the upswing. Now it's you are hoping that for the period of this next 3-4 years, these contracts, I sure hope this team is going to be good in this period because I can't get out.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Albon's kind of an interesting case because he went through the Red Bull blender, but landed at he kind of did land on a team on the upswing. I think they all have demonstrated really that they have that they're very, very solid drivers. It just so much of this stuff is about timing, and
yeah, I think Leclerc is the high ceiling of the three of them. I think Russell's probably next, and then Albon, which, Albon's the oldest of the three. He'll be turning 30 next season, I think. So they are getting on a little bit, which is silly to say, but that's sort of the F1 that we find ourselves in now. I really like Albon a lot, but he does strike me as somebody who, and you could argue again this season with the lack of performance in the latter half that I don't know if he can be consistent over that period of time that you need to be a title challenger. Although you could argue none of the three this year had consistency either, but maybe that's just a byproduct of a 24 race year. But I think the one for me that feels like the greatest missed opportunity or the least fruitful of these trees is probably Leclerc. And I think it'll be interesting to see what he does. If next year is not for Ferrari, I think his move, wherever it is going to have to be super sharp. But I do think people are going to be looking for him. I think
his stock has only risen compared to Hamilton this year. Yeah. All right. Thank you, everyone, for the emails. shiftf1podcast@gmail.com or f1.cool/emails. This is our last non-patron episode of the year. We will almost certainly be back with an off-season news update. Often there is just, some stuff happens over the off-season. And, of course, we'll be posting patron bonus episodes monthly, continuing to do that. But yeah, you can continue to email us, shiftf1podcast@gmail.com, f1.cool/emails. You can also hit us up on the socials. That is us around the internet. Dan, you want to race around the world?
You're going to make me do this and then there's no racing.
Yes.
Race around the world.
Yeah, there's nothing going on.
God damn, I'm sick, man.
Yeah, sorry.
No, actually, I feel pretty good. That was nice actually to get.
Okay, good.
That loosened up some buttons, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Gross. January 10th, as we mentioned last week, Formula E is the first on our calendar here of any kind of racing. I think there's probably an F4 winter series or something going on.
Am I crazy? The first Formula E race of the year was on last week, right? That wasn't a fever dream, right? That was the Brazil one.
I feel like you're not crazy. I feel like that's real.
Yeah, I watched it. I'm pretty sure I watched it. It was in Brazil last weekend. There was a nasty crash. There was one of the cars got on fire during a full course yellow.
Wow.
Pulling it up.
Right? Brazil?
December 6th, Sao Paulo.
Yeah, there you go.
Opening of the season.
Yeah.
It's Mexico City is
You can watch it on Roku.
January 10th.
Cool. It's not on Tubi?
Not yet.
CBS Sports Network, but
okay.
Don't trust them. I swear to God, I've tried to watch it on YouTube TV, and occasionally it's just like, and here's race 2 of the weekend. We're not giving you.
Oh, really? God, that's so annoying.
It's got kind of shitty coverage.
Yeah. It was interesting race. Like I said, one of the cars blew up after one of the drivers did not realize there was a full course yellow and just drove into the back of 2 other cars.
Wow.
And ended up flipping on his head, flipped 3 times. Yeah.
Wow.
Walked away fine, but yeah.
That feels like the sort of thing the super license points gets deducted.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Well, I feel like we just did a whole episode on our final thoughts. So why don't we just close it out here?
Sure. I'm feeling very tired.
Danny, yeah, you and the drivers need to go for a long winter's nap.
Well, it's nighttime now. Have you noticed?
Great. Yes.
It's 5 o'clock here in Ireland, which means, or 4:50, which means it's nighttime. Welcome. Welcome to the Northern Hemisphere.
The far, far north.
Oh, boy. Yeah, rough times up here.
Yeah. Well, like I said, patrons, join us for all of the weird bonus episodes we're going to get up to in the meantime. And you can look forward to our off-season news update and, of course, our preseason primer.
Yes.
But until then, have a good race weekend, everyone. If you'd like to support the show and get access to all of our bonus episodes, the early ad-free version of the podcast, and the official Shift+F1 Discord, you can do so over at patreon.com/ShiftF1. Yes, have a good race weekend, even though there's no racing. We will see you all next time.
Thank you all for supporting our show this year. We wouldn't do it if you weren't listening. Believe me, we tried to stop this many times, but you keep listening. So we really appreciate it. We hope you and your families have a wonderful holiday season, and we'll see you in the new year.